This isn't about rankings, records, or who looks good on paper. It's about what happens when pace slows, when youth meets pressure, when size, fatigue, and preparation start to matter more than name recognition. Tonight's slate isn't loud, it's revealing. Road spots, home openers, rebounding gaps, turnover pressure, and defensive resistance quietly shaping outcomes long before the final score. If you're here for surface takes, this won't be for you. But if you want to understand why these games tilt the way they do, it's time to go beyond the box score. Game 1, Seton Hall at Providence. Seton Hall walks into this Big East Road matchup carrying a 10-1 record, and that number matters because of how it was built. Their only loss came by 2 points to USC in Hawaii, a neutral site environment far from home, and every other result on the resume tells a consistent story. Wins over Kate, Rutgers, NC State, and Wazoo paint the picture of a team that has already been tested against a variety of styles and atmospheres. This is not a group padding numbers, this is a group surviving real basketball games. The identity of Seton Hall is rooted in control. They play at a bottom 50 pace, deliberately slowing games down and forcing opponents to operate in uncomfortable possessions. They score 76 points per game, not because they overwhelm teams with shooting variance, but because they grind them into submission. This team does not make many three-pointers, and that detail matters because it removes volatility from their profile. Their success is not dependent on streak shooting. It is dependent on structure. On defense, that structure shows up loudly, with a top 20 rated defense anchoring everything they do. The style is described plainly and accurately, very slow, designed to choke you out. Under head coach Shaheen Holloway, Seton Hall turns games into physical negotiations, possession by possession. Providence enters from a very different place. The Friars sit at 7-5, and the most recent data point is a 13-point loss in double overtime to Butler, a result that speaks to both fatigue and execution issues late. The roster construction is young. Providence is starting 3 true sophomores, while again rolling out 2 underclassmen in the lineup. That level of youth becomes magnified in games that slow down, where every decision carries weight. The backcourt is decent, but the frontcourt is no good, and against a team built to suffocate interior efficiency, that imbalance becomes a pressure point rather than a footnote. The line reflects this tension, with Seton Hall plus 2.5 attached to the matchup. From a spread lean perspective, the numbers align toward the Pirates. A team that plays slower, defends better, and brings more proven resistance into a road environment facing a younger roster still finding its footing. When pace is controlled and possessions are limited, experience and defense tend to surface over time. In broader analytical scenarios, this game fits naturally alongside other defensively structured matchups, where low-variance profiles hold value when combined. Game 2, Eastern Michigan at Akron. Conference openers have their own gravity, and this one opens the MAC with a stark contrast in preparation and firepower. Eastern Michigan arrives with a 6-5 record, highlighted by wins over Cincinnati, Oakland, and Detroit Mercy, including a notable road win at Cincinnati. That road result stands out, but context sharpens the lens. EMU enters this matchup directly off a 15-point road loss to IPFW, stepping into a back-to-back road spot, a situational angle that matters when margins expand. From a statistical profile standpoint, Eastern Michigan scores 72 points per game, operates at a bottom 150 pace, and shoots 44% from the field. This is a slower, methodical team that does not push tempo. They do have a notable frontcourt presence in redshirt freshman, Hob, a name worth acknowledging within the data set, but the overall structure remains that of a young team navigating difficult environments without much margin for error. Akron, meanwhile, steps into this opener with a 8-3 record, coming off a 15-point neutral site loss to Murray State. That loss sits alongside an important contextual detail. Akron has had 6 days of prep time leading into this home opener. Under head coach John Gross, this program has established consistency, and the numbers confirm it. Akron owns the second-rated offense in the entire country, scores 96 points per game, plays at a top 50 pace, and ranks top 100 on the glass. That combination of tempo, scoring volume, and rebounding efficiency creates separation over extended stretches. The line sits at Akron minus 15.5, and the spread lean follows the data trail. A rested home team, elite offensive output, conference opening energy, and a visiting opponent dealing with consecutive road tests. When pace increases and scoring efficiency rises, slower teams with limited shooting margins often struggle to keep games within compressed windows. From an analytical parlay-style perspective, this matchup aligns naturally with other home openers featuring high-output offenses and situational edges. Game 3, Tulsa at Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky enters this matchup at 7-3, but the defining split is where those games have been played. At home, the Hilltoppers are 5-0, completely undefeated, and that environment matters. Their losses came by 5 to Vanderbilt, 6 to USF, and 13 or 14 to Marshall, all away from home, reinforcing the significance of location. Western Kentucky has size down low, a recurring theme that becomes more pronounced when tempo increases and rebounding margins stretch possessions. Tulsa's profile tells a different story. They have played 2 road games, going 1-1, with their lone road loss coming by 1 point to Kansas State. Their wins include Northern Iowa, Rhode Island, and San Jose, along with victories over 2 Division II schools. The dataset explicitly notes that Tulsa's stats are inflated due to competition, a critical qualifier when stepping into a hostile, undefeated home environment. The numbers attached to this matchup show Western Kentucky plus 2.5, paired with a total of 158.5. From a spread lean standpoint, the data tilts toward the Hilltoppers, driven by home dominance and physical presence. The total reflects a game environment where scoring potential exists, especially when pace, size, and defensive resistance are not uniform on both sides. In analytical scenario building, this game naturally pairs with others featuring strong home trends and inflated opposing profiles, where environment and physicality quietly shift efficiency over time. Game 4, Wisconsin vs. Villanova. This matchup carries the label of a neutral site game, but the details underneath that label matter. The game is being played at the Fiserv Center in Milwaukee, the home of Marquette and the Milwaukee Bucks. Tip times mentioned are 5 o'clock for one game and 8 o'clock for the other, and while officially neutral, this environment does not exist in a vacuum. Geography, familiarity, and comfort all subtly influence execution. Wisconsin enters with a 7-3 record, and their losses came to BYU, TCU, and Nebraska. Their wins include Northwestern, Marquette, and Providence, establishing a profile built on handling teams with structure and physicality. What defines Wisconsin in this matchup is size and depth in the frontcourt. They rotate 3 players at the 4/5, and all 3 are 6'11" or taller. On top of that, they bring a 7'2", 240 pounds true freshman, a data point that matters. In rebounding sequences, rim protection, and second chance possessions. Add in transfers like John Blackwell and Rhodes from Virginia, and the roster composition leans old, physical, and disciplined. Villanova comes in at 8-2, but the losses tell an important story. They lost to BYU by 5 and were beaten by Michigan by 28. Their only Power 4 win is Pitt, a team noted as bottom 3 in the ACC. Villanova plays at a slow pace, preferring to control tempo and minimize possessions, but pace control becomes more difficult when the opposing team can rotate multiple 6'11+ bodies without sacrificing structure. The line attached to this matchup is Wisconsin -5, and from a spread lean perspective, the data tilts toward Wisconsin. Size, rebounding continuity, and familiarity with the environment align against a Villanova team that has not consistently proven itself against physical Power 4 front courts. In analytical scenario building, this game fits alongside others where rebounding dominance and environment quietly compress margins in favor of the bigger, deeper roster. Game 5, South Dakota State vs. Milwaukee. This neutral site game carries emotional weight for both sides. South Dakota State enters with a 7-6 record, coming off a 17-point loss to Wyoming. They score 74 points per game, play at a bottom 100 pace, and shoot 45% from the field. One of the most critical data points in their profile is ball security. They average 12 turnovers per game, a number that becomes increasingly important when facing aggressive defensive teams. Milwaukee, on the other side, sits at 4-6, and most recently suffered a 2-point home loss to Indiana State. Their offensive profile is different. They score 80 points per game, operate at a top 100 pace, and rank top 50 in offensive rebounding. That ability to extend possessions is central to them. Defensively, they are bottom 75, but that weakness is counterbalanced by activity. Milwaukee ranks top 10 in steals, actively jumping passing lanes and turning defense into transition opportunities. The line here is Milwaukee plus 100 on the money line, and the spread lean emerges from matchup interaction rather than raw record. A team that forces steals against an opponent averaging 12 turnovers per game, combined with offensive rebounding strength, creates additional possessions that can neutralize defensive inefficiency. From an analytical perspective, this game aligns with scenarios where turnover pressure and second chance points shape outcomes more than shooting percentages. Game 6, Belmont at UC Irvine. Belmont arrives with an impressive 11-1 record, their only loss coming by 8 points to Richmond. Their recent wins were tight, beating UIC by 3 and Evansville by 5, showing a team that continues to survive close games. Belmont scores 85 points per game, plays at a top 75 pace, shoots 51% from the field, and makes 11 three-pointers per game. Offensively, they are efficient and comfortable pushing tempo. But roster construction matters, and Belmont's size profile is a defining variable. There is no player over 6'9" on their roster. That detail becomes critical against a team built the opposite way. UC Irvine enters with a 7-4 record and a 4-game winning streak, beating South Dakota State, San Jose, UC Riverside, and CSUN. They score 80 points per game, play at a top 75 pace, and rank as the 7th best rebounding team in the entire country. Their starting center is 7'1", and their starting 4 is 6'10", creating a size and rebounding mismatch that consistently shows up over long stretches. The line is UC Irvine minus 115 on the money line, and the spread lean reflects interior dominance and rebounding control. When a top rebounding team faces a roster with no player above 6'9", possession margins expand. Naturally. In broader analytical scenarios, this matchup pairs well with other games where size and rebounding efficiency quietly erode high-scoring profiles over time. Game 7, Alcorn State at Baylor. This matchup is defined by extremes. Alcorn State is labeled as having the worst Division I defense in the entire country. They are playing their 11th road game in a row, have played 0 home games, and will not play a home game until January. They score 67 points per game, despite playing at a top 125 pace, and recently gave up 132 points to Iowa State. Baylor enters with a 7-2 record, and their offensive output in bye games is clearly documented. They scored 97 against Norfolk, 110 against Sacramento State, 94 against Tarleton, and 96 against UTRGV. The expected output is noted as 100+, and that expectation aligns with pace, opponent defense, and historical scoring in similar matchups. While no official line is stated, the analytical lean is shaped by contrast. A high-output offense meeting the worst defensive profile in the country, combined with relentless road fatigue, creates a scenario where scoring separation is consistently observed. In parlay-style analytical observations, this game naturally aligns with others featuring extreme mismatches between offensive efficiency and defensive resistance. Almost bets. Coppin State at Navy shows Navy minus 19.5, reflecting a significant separation in perceived quality. LaSalle at High Point saw no official play, with High Point noted as poor over the last 2 weeks. UCLA vs Cal Poly features a spread of 26.5, with Cal Poly plus 26.5 first half and Cal Poly first half moneyline, supported by the note that Cal Poly has covered or led at halftime versus multiple by-game teams. If this breakdown helped you see these games differently, make sure you like the video so more people can find it. Subscribe to Beyond the Box Score for daily college basketball analysis that goes deeper than headlines and box scores. Drop a comment with the matchup you're most locked in on tonight, and let me know which angle stood out to you. I'll be back with more breakdowns, more context, and more edge, right here on Beyond the Box Score.